He was. He was still him.
I feel like once he went down to bantamweight, he was not him. Road to Gold family, we're back in the building, episode 15. Couldn't be more excited to be back in here. I'm here with my man Ron Askew. I'm Dylan Maven. We're here to bring you the best that we have to offer. Ron, how you doing today?
I'm feeling good, man. We have a very exciting card dealing with a fighter that I know you love and adore oh so much, and I can't wait to talk about that championship fight for sure.
Yeah, we got it's a big day. It's a big day for my fandom. You know, I got a few fighters that I exclusively root for. So, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Like you said, big card. UFC 302 going down. Newark, New Jersey. The East Coast gets a card again. I'm really excited. You know, hopefully we can all get together, watch the card, hang out. Hey, let me ask you a quick question. What's your go-to food for a pay-per-view, not a fight night, but a pay-per-view card?
Well, not gonna lie, Wingstop gets thraxed. I do Wingstop so dirty. I got so right now they got the what is it? The hot orange or something like that.
Hot orange.
It's some like spicy hot chicken they do. It's literally there like every maybe 6 months. It's currently there. I get 6 of those. I get like maybe like what is it 10 or 9 of the lemon peppers.
Gotta get the lemon.
Mike goes with some voodoo fries. It's a special night. Sweet tea. Yeah, man. That's how we got to do it.
All right. I mean, hey, I'm right there with you, man. Wingstop, it really doesn't get much better than that on fight night. Give me about 15, large fry, either a fruit punch or a lemonade. Yeah, I'm getting hyped just thinking about it, especially because it hits even better when a card's gonna deliver. Like a card's gonna deliver. You know it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be everything you asked for, and we finally get it. Took some time off. You know, the cards haven't been as much lately, so I'm excited to get this one underway. As a matter of fact, why don't we just get into it? Before we even get into the main event, main cards, you know, this, like we said, this is a big pay-per-view. A lot of good people on the prelims now. A lot of good fighters on the prelims. Anybody that stood out to you that, you know, was on the prelims?
Phil Rowe. I like him. I like the way he fights. I like the way he strikes. He's one of those guys who just needs to put it all together and get a run going. But it's the UFC. This is top talent. I get it. It's hard to do. It's hard to face these top opponents and, you know, make the strides you need to get in, contention. But he has a lot of positive things. He's long, he's tall, boss. He's a lot of great striking as far as like his hooks, timing. He knows how to get in and get out. He, as a striker, knows what he's doing. It just comes down to being able to consistently stand back up, which he usually is pretty decent at. And against the more experienced guys, figuring out his personal path to beating them, because that's where things get usually mucky when he faces guys that are experienced, the ranked guys. Those are the ones that he needs to really kind of hone in on how to take the next jump. But I like him a lot of potential there.
So guys like Jake Matthews, because he's facing a guy that's very experienced. He's, you know, had an up and down career in the UFC, but Jake's an experienced guy. That's going to be a tough fight for him.
It is. It's going to be a tough fight for him. I mean, I would love to see him win this fight, but this is another one of those fights that I hope during this time off in camp, you took the time to really dig into your weaknesses. We know your strengths. Sharpen your tools. Don't get me wrong. Let's go find a new tool as well. Let's go find something different that we can hone in on so we can use in your future fights. If you can just figure it out, you have what it takes. Rowe has what it takes. I just need to see it come to fruition. I was time to take it from practice and put it in the game.
Will his legacy be bigger or smaller than Neil Magny's? Because I look at him as Neil Magny, but younger. Will will he surpass Neil, or is he destined for less?
I think he's technically better than Neil. He doesn't have the power. And I think that's okay, though. You don't have to have the power of Neil Magny. Neil Magny is a dangerous striker. He connects with you at any point. That could be it. But even with the power he's at now, he's a little stronger. And with his technical skills, I think that's all he really needs to progress. He just needs to figure out the rest of his game, just figure out more than just being a technical striker. Being able to maybe, you don't got to be a takedown guy, you don't be a takedown guy, but you got to be a defensive guy at least then. You got to be able to get up, get off the clinch, move a little bit, be able to trap your opponents, be able to feint, get them to, show their hand and counter off of it. He needs those are the skills I need to see him improve on. If he can do stuff like that, I can see him being better than Neil Magny. Don't get me wrong, Neil is a respectable, really good fighter, but I think Rowe has what it takes.
All right, well, we will see. I'm pretty sure they open up the regular prelims, so should be all eyes on them. Another guy on the regular prelims that I've actually spoken about before. I actually picked him to win last fight and he lost, which actually hurt me. Roman Kopylov, man. I'm still such a big fan of him, and I just feel like he won't be on the prelims for much longer. I know he took a loss last time to Anthony Hernandez, big grappling issue, but he's just such an exciting striker that I don't know. I think he's destined to rise up the ranks. His kickboxing is elite, and he's a Russian guy, so you wouldn't think that. Elite kickboxing, elite kicks, things like that. But I don't know. He's a guy that I think could definitely make some waves on this card. It's going to be hard. Cesar Almeida. Just hearing that name, you can probably assume what kind of guy he is. He wants to get it to the ground. He wants to make it one of those types of fights. So, we'll have to see. Another guy that is on this card, Mickey Gall, the GOAT. How do we feel about Mickey?
GOAT.
Mickey, the man that ushered in CM Punk to the UFC, is back on this card on a pay-per-view, nonetheless. What do we
Lots
make
of respect. Lots of respect for Mickey Gall. I know fans like him a lot. He's been around for ages. But I think you're trapping me to sound like a hater again. Like you're trapping me, because how I truly feel about this. And come on, dog, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? He could have been on a fight. He could have been on a fight night. Let him go off silently into the night. But no, we're choosing a pay-per-view where he's fighting a good opponent. Like he's fighting someone who could very well take him out. And do we want to keep seeing these old guys do this? I just don't know.
Mickey's not even that old. That's the thing. He is 7-5 though. So how we let a 7-5 man on the pay-per-view, I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe he is a fan favorite. I don't know. I guess we'll see. But that's enough of the prelims, man. We could talk about the prelims all episode because there's Grant Dawson versus Joe Selecki. Alexander Romanov or Jalton Almeida. We got banger fights on here, but the people came here for the main card.
The meat and potatoes.
Let's get into it, man. First fight on the card, which is an interesting matchup. We got Randy Brown versus Alicio Zaleski dos Santos. Now, this is an interesting matchup because you got guys like Alicio who are more pressure, more power, more dog in them, if you will. Whereas Randy Brown has that dog in him, but he's a very tall, very lanky, elite, quick, fast striker.
Yep.
Kind of a clash in striking styles. What do you kind of make of that?
See, here's the thing. I see Alicio. I see a future superstar. I love the contents of his game and his package. I love everything inside of there. Okay. his fight package. His
Right.
fight pack. I love everything that is in there. This is a guy who literally I think is he can do it all striking. In the clinch, he is so good when it comes to defensively fighting in the clinch. He's great defensively fighting on the ground. He is very well versed on how to get back up to his feet. He's not a guy who's going to go for many takedowns, but if he needs to, he can. But he knows his role. Let's get back to that striking. Let's get back to being aggressive, being explosive, hitting you with so many combinations and strikes from kind of all over the place. He knows how to apply the pressure. He knows his way of fighting. He is a guy who knows exactly how he wants to take you out. And that's important. That's very important, knowing yourself and knowing yourself as a fighter and your weaknesses and your strengths. He strikes me as a guy that was always really good as a striker, and he worked hard about his grappling defense and clinch defense, because it's actually phenomenal. He's fought several wrestlers in his past that to try to take him down, try to clinch him, try to wrestle him, and he continuously saw an opportunity to circle out, get back up to his feet, get off the clinch, get off the cage. He has a high fight IQ. I like him a lot. Randy Brown is also a really good fighter, really good striker. As we said, he's not as in your face as like as Dos Santos is, but at the same time, he knows his way of fighting as well. He knows he's fast, he's quick. He likes to do a lot of teep kicks. He likes to do a lot of front kicks. He wants to almost nickel and dime you up the field. And I love that for him. I do wonder, because of this clash in style, how does this play out? How does Randy go about keeping the pressure off of him? How does he keep this fight as clean as he wants it? Not saying Santos doesn't want to keep the fight clean, but the way he goes about it is different. He's not as technical as a Randy. He's fighting with like almost a very Muay Thai centric style. Everything he throws is for effectiveness and significance. Randy isn't necessarily like that. A lot of front kicks, jabs, combinations, get in, get out, circling. And it's going to be interesting to see who controls the pace. Whoever controls the pace of the fight, I think will be the winner of the fight.
That's very interesting, especially considering Alicio is more of the pressure, foot on the pedal, kind of get in your face, make it a dogfight. Will Randy fall into that trap? I don't think so. And don't get it twisted either. Randy Brown has one punch KO power.
You're right.
His last fight, he did a slip 1-2. He only connected with that 2, but that's all he needed to send his opponent to the ground. So he has that. Obviously, Alicio, I wasn't that familiar with Alicio's game. Just I've seen his fights in passing, but it never really resonated that was him. He has some elite striking. He knocked out Sean Strickland with a spinning heel kick. He got Benoit Saint Denis out of here. Granted, these fights were from a while ago. He took 2 years off. This is only his third fight since 2020. I don't know. And he's 37. Not to say that that's old, because it's not. But taking that time off combined, is his timing going to be there? I don't think so personally. I think Randy Brown gets the win here. I think he manages distance better. And, I think it's going to be 2 rounds to 1. I think there's going to be a round where Zaleski pushes the pace, gets in his face, gets at him, and Randy kind of can't figure it out. It might be the first round, but after that, I think Brown's gonna find the distance, find his spacing, pickpocket, and I think he ends it in the third.
I think that first round is gonna be so important,
crucial,
because if Randy does not figure out how to keep Alicio at bay, there's gonna come a point where I think his will, I don't want to say his will be broken, but he's going to go back to the corner like, what do I do? Because, like I said, he's throwing hard strikes,
Mm.
very Muay Thai centric style. He's gonna attack you with inside kicks, outside calf kicks, body kicks, head kicks, and it seems like his energy just never goes away. As long as he believes he has a possibility of winning the fight, he's gonna go in there and he's gonna attack you with everything he got. Where, like we said, Randy doesn't come off that kind of style. It's more technical than it's more of a kickboxing style. It's almost like a perfect clash of Muay Thai versus kickboxing that we're watching. And that first round, the kickboxer is going to have to figure out how do I keep this Muay Thai guy off me. And if he can get distance, he can circle out and make him miss, making Alicio miss a lot will be the key factor. If it takes too long, if it's 3 minutes, 4 minutes into the second round, you haven't figured it out yet, you're gonna need a knockout, and that's a hard guy to knock out.
So who's your pick?
Oh man, Alicio. I want Alicio dos Santos here. This is my guy.
We're gonna start keeping track of our picks. I think that'll be interesting just to see accuracy wise who comes out on top of the picks.
Man, I'm trying to go like 123 at the end of it was way more fights than that in a year. But I want to see it added up overall, see something crazy.
We're gonna do the stats. We're gonna get the stats for him. Brown right now minus 185. Zaleski plus 155. I don't know. It's pretty close. But anyways, moving on. We don't even have to talk about this fight that much. Nico Price, Alex Morono. Two guys that aren't flashy. They're not going to go in there and do anything crazy out of the ordinary. I feel like Nico Price once was that guy, but he has a lot of fight miles on him. He's 34, but it seems like he's 41 the way he's
yes, that is so facts. Yes.
So, it's not going to be flashy, but these are two guys that are going to fight hard. They're going to fight to the bell. It's going to be a 2008 UFC fight right here. This is a 2008 fight right here. I think Morono, I think he's just the younger, fresher kind of guy. I saw him take out Cowboy. I think he's going to get it done. I think this is Nico's last hurrah, to be quite honest. I don't know how much more he has in him. Again, he's only 34, but it seems like he's 41. So, I don't know.
I get that. I loved the way Morono fights, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like almost purely predicated on speed. Being able to time you up, be faster to the punch, being able to counter on time before that you can get your strike off, being able to get in and get out, even against power strikers before they can land the powerful bomb. I love the way he fights, really. He fights almost so stereotypical to how you would think a boxer would fight if they was to one day be in the UFC. Like the quick twitch, being able to get in and get out, being able to just keep your opponent at bay. He dictates the pace extremely well. He dictates paces of fights so well with being able to make his opponents miss, and he lands his strikes when he wants to land his strikes. I love him. I like the guy a lot. Then like you said, Nico just feels like this is his last hurrah. He feels like he's 41. His last win came in 2021, I believe. He tends to lunge at his opponents a lot. He rushes them with an onslaught of combos and attacks. It has worked in the past in different fights. He's also gotten tired doing that exact same style against his opponents in different fights and it's led to losses. But his opportunity to win is to make this as dirty as humanly possible. So that rush, lunge style will have to be his one way of doing it. But against Alex Morono, I'm taking him for a dub here.
I feel the same. I don't know. It sounds like we're hating on Nico, but if you watch his last few fights, he just looks kind of slower and lethargic. He still has the energy and he still has like the will and want to, but I don't know. Just seems kind of lax to me.
It's a tad.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, we both picked Morono there. You know what? Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this card. These next three fights are what's kind of what I'm looking forward to the most. Especially this next fight. because similar to the Randy Brown Alicio fight, it's kind of a clash in styles. Maybe not
It
as
is.
drastic, but it is a clash in styles. We're talking Kevin Holland and Mikhail Olejniczak. Yes, that's right, Olejniczak. He's Polish. Um, it's kind of a clash of styles again. Kevin Holland, we never know what Kevin Holland we're going to get. That's the problem with him. Is this going to be the Kevin Holland who fights at range? Is he going to be in the pocket? Because a guy like Mikel, I mean, let's look at tail of the tape here. Let's look at the tail of the tape here. Let's look a little more in detail. A guy like Kevin Holland, who has that reach, you see it right there, 81-inch reach over 74. If he can keep this distance, if he can manage it, if he's on that type of time, then we know what to expect from him. But he's going against a guy in Olejniczak who is very crisp and he likes to be on the front foot. He can take a punch, he can back up if he has to, but once he backs up, he's gonna come forward. I don't know. Is this a bad matchup for Kevin? What are we thinking here?
After watching Kevin versus MVP, I mean,
Different styles.
So I get the style thing, but Kevin, I thought was so much better of a striker than what was shown in that fight, and I feel like he's gonna probably, I can see him knocking the dust off and trying to get back into himself. But he's a fighter that's better when he's the one hunting you down. In that fight against MVP, he was the one hunting and he was still losing. I think this is going to be the opposite situation, but the same result. Olejniczak is going to Kevin Holland's going to do his best to walk him down at the beginning of the fight, stir his dominance. He's a very flashy striker. He's really good. Front kicks, body kicks, hooks. He loves the overhands. He likes the spinning attacks, stuff like that. He's going to come out the first round, I think, in that same style and be explosive. But he's going to realize at some point that he's punching bricks. Olejniczak is going to take and literally eat all of that. Kevin, I think, is going to realize, oh, I can't do this with him. Olejniczak is going to realize, I can take his shots. I don't have to respect his striking. And this is going to turn into the Terminator just walking straight at you while you're circling out, trying to continuously, throw. I can only assume he's so good. Probably some front kicks, jabs, maybe side kicks to the thigh, stuff to slow his onslaught of just walking you down, just to get him away from you. But JJ wants to box. He wants to box. He wants to get in your face, throw overhands, hooks, body shots, uppercuts. And every single time, I think he gets in within range of Kevin Holland, he's going to land something significant, and Kevin's going to react to it. It's going to become a point, just like the MVP fight, where he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to go about it or how to counter it. And when it comes down to it, I think this is going to be another Kevin Holland loss. I think we're slowly approaching at least the end of the run of Kevin Holland. He's a fan favorite. People love to see him fight. I think he's going to be around, but I think we're approaching the end of the big mouth era.
First off, I get what you're saying when you bring up MVP. These two, that's such a special fight in my eyes, because we're talking about one of the best. And that was his first fight in the UFC, and he's already one of the best counter punchers, counter strikers in the sport. So it's easy to say, oh, Kevin Holland normally, likes to go forward, he likes to do this, and he's still we can say that, but we're talking about one of the best counter strikers in the nation, in the land. I don't know if Olejniczak is like that as far as his ability to counter strike. Like we said, Michael Venom Page has the reach. He can, still connect on punches while going backwards. He can still connect on kicks going backwards. If Kevin can control the range, the distance, things of that nature while still going forward, I don't know. I think it could be a different result. That's just the first thing. Second, I get this man's, Polish. He's made of bricks. He takes ice baths in winter ocean. I understand all that. We've seen Kevin Holland put the best of him out with one punch. We've seen him put out Joaquin Buckley with one punch. We've seen him put out Jacare Souza off his back, punching up. We've seen him put him out. Let's not act like Kevin Holland doesn't have power. Yes, it depends which Kevin we're getting. But I'm not gonna let you play my dog like that. Can't let you play him like that.
What was Kevin's last good fight? Because I can't help but think that it may have been Wonder Boy.
No, he fought Ponzinibbio since then. He knocked him out. He subbed Michael Chiesa. I don't know, sub. It's a little different. He might mess around, take it to the ground here. We know he's BJJ black belt. We know he's like that. Not like that, but like we know he's more than proficient on the ground if it happens to go there. So he's had a submission since then. I think his last fight before MVP, he lost to Jack Della, which Jack Della is top 5, so that's nothing to frown upon.
I just can't help. I feel like he's beating fighters that we expect him to beat, and he's losing to the fighters that we all expect him to lose to. Which, even if that's the case, you would probably think this is the fight that we expect him to win. But something tells me that that's not going to be the case for this fight.
You're picking Mikal.
I'm picking Mikal.
Ooh, I'm gonna go Kevin here, man. I'm going with the Texas native. I don't know. Like I said, I think if he can just control the distance. Control the distance. I know they've harped on that probably all camp. And you can get Olajaychuk on his back foot. We've seen him have to fight off his back foot, and when he does, he's not as effective. Now obviously it's easier said than done trying to get him there, but we've seen it happen. I saw I think it was Cody Brundage. Olajaychuk ended up beating Cody Brundage, but he had him on the back foot early, and I don't know, that could cause problems for him.
I can't. I hear you. I think the MVP fight really took the one out of my sails for Kevin Holland for me, and I don't know, man. I just don't know. I would love to see him show me something this fight, but this is going to test his heart. We're going to see where his heart is. We're going to see if he really loves this. We're going to really find out. I think
he does, and that's the thing about Kevin is he might not always seem locked in. But he's locked in. And that MVP fight, it may not have went his way. It might not have been his night, but he was locked in the whole time. He was really trying to get that win. And I think this kind of fight is kind of I don't want to call it a slap to the face because that would be disrespecting Olajaychuk. But this isn't a well-known opponent. You know what I mean? This isn't somebody who could headline their card. MVP could headline a card. Wonder Boy could headline a card. Guys like that, who he's faced, he's probably had the right motivation to get up and try and get the win. This one, he's probably like, man, he's probably not like this, but this is how I would be. Man, this guy, they're trying to give me just anybody and anybody. I respect my opponent, but who is this guy? That's what he needs to be thinking. He needs to be, I need to take care of business this fight. That's what he needs to be thinking. He's minus 320. He's minus 320.
Hey, a loss here will make him unranked. So I hope he takes it as serious as he can. A loss here will make him unranked.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll see. That's 3 fights down, man. Let's get to the co-main. A very fun fight. Somewhat clash of styles, I would say. But a very fun fight nonetheless. Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa. Tail of the tape coming at you. This is a hard one. This is a tough one because it's like, do you go with the more consistent, the more efficient, the more disciplined striker? Or do you go with the guy in Paulo Costa who is very explosive, very flashy, very powerful, who might not be as disciplined? He might take more risks, but there's more bang for your buck because, like I said, he's very powerful. He's very he's very forceful, things of that nature. So it's like, which way do you lean? I mean, look at the odds. You got Sean minus 275 right now. That's pretty big, in
You
my opinion.
know, I think I'm not just going with Paulo Costa. We have to remember it's a skinny Costa.
Oh boy.
This is slim Costa. This is I'm not gonna eat all that chicken and beef and hit the gym for two times a day, Costa.
Secret
He's
juice.
leaning out. He's faster. Let's not forget what he looked like against Robert Whitaker. He looked good. Looked
Lost,
good.
he lost that
He
fight.
looked he looked but he looked he looked
But he
Robert
lost.
Whitaker is an elite fighter.
He
He
is.
looked fast. He looked fast. He looked explosive. He hurt Robert Whitaker. If that round is maybe 15 seconds longer, Robert Whitaker isn't in the position that he's in.
I don't like that. I don't. I get what you're saying. I don't like when people say that though, because it always seems that people are always like, "Oh, if this round was 5 more seconds, or if this round was like, yeah, I mean, sure, but we could play the what if game all day.
You're
That's
right.
just
You're right. You're right. Though he lost the fight, looking at this new version of Paul, I think that was a great introduction to this new version of Paulo Costa.
mhm.
His cardio held up. He looked sharp still. He's not as technical as Robert Whitaker, which is the reason why I think Robert Whitaker won the fight. Because his technicality, his technical skills was just, they're just so high. They've always been so high that Robert Whitaker without Israel Adesanya would have been champion for probably a long time. But we're talking about Sean Strickland. Don't get me wrong. I believe Sean Strickland is the second best defensive striker in the division. Only person to think better than him is Israel Adesanya. And with that being said, I don't know if he has the offense for Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa might see that as a little bit of you have to earn Paulo Costa's respect. You have to. We even saw, though I get it, he's only fought so many times in middleweight in the last couple of years. All right, so I have to use recent examples, but they're not always the greatest examples. When he fought Izzy, though he did lose, he came out in that fight. He was trying to be in front of Izzy. He didn't care about the kickboxing. He didn't care about the leg kicks. He allowed him to leg kick him to death if he wanted to. The only difference is here is Sean's going to try to jab him to death. Paul doesn't respect the jab. He's not going to have Paul's respect in the beginning of the fight. And until he lands that strike to make Paulo believe, maybe I should take a second, Paul's going to come at him and throw another spinning kick, a devastating body or head kick, overhands, hooks. He's going to apply that pressure on you. He's going to, and I don't know if Sean is ready for that. I just don't know if I get the DDP fight Sean had may have been a decent outlook into what we think this fight could look like. Again, a fight that Sean did lose, but Duplessis had issues in the beginning, not understanding how to avoid the jab, and he couldn't find his range. Where I think Paulo is a little more cleaner than Duplessis typically fights. I think it's a little more technicality to his game than Duplessis fights, and I think that's all is going to need for Paulo to walk down Sean, not respect him, especially in the beginning, and just wail on him. Just I'm going Skinny Costa here. Skinny Costa is my guy.
That's, I don't know, man. That's a tough one because I understand what you're saying and why you're saying it. But you said Sean Strickland is the second best. He has the second best defense in the middleweight division.
Yeah, I say so.
Doesn't that bode well for you when you're facing a guy like Costa who is more explosive and more powerful? Because you have the defense to watch out for that versus, I don't know, I feel like when you're facing somebody like a Sean Strickland, it's almost better to kind of out jab them. Like if Sean's throwing a jab, you need to be out jabbing him. If he's throwing crosses, you need to be out crossing him. You always need to be leading that. And that's kind of where I think DDP figured it out later on in the fight. He figured he had to get ahead of him in that regard, and ended up getting the win. Now Paulo, he's going to throw these spinning, these head kicks, these flashy things. If Sean has the defense for that, can Paulo lean on his intangibles? Can he lean on his intimate striking and get the win that way? Can he? I'm not so sure.
So, in my opinion, what it comes down to is the pocket. I don't believe, because the way Sean defenses, Sean doesn't defense typically by he doesn't do a whole lot of circling. He loves the Philly shell. He doesn't have a problem with you entering his space as long as he's comfortable in his defense. That doesn't mean you're gonna always hit him. He's gonna move. Don't get me wrong, he's gonna move. But fighters can be closer to Sean because he doesn't demand as much space as a lot of fighters do when they're on their defense. And it's because of his Philly shell defense. His arms aren't out. They're not. He's here. He's more ready for to defend than it is attack at any given moment, which is fine because for him it works and his jab is so lethal. He can do that all day. But against Paulo Costa, I think he's going to have a problem with the fact that Paulo's going to take that space. The space that you're allowing him to have because you're not keeping your arms out, you're not, hand fighting with him.
Right.
You know, a lot of fighters say hand fight is it's a game of taking up space and room and how close and far you can be from me. Where Sean doesn't do that. He's gonna allow Paulo to take that space, and I think, and that's pocket space. Sean, I think this fight's going a little bit. I'm not trying to compare Alex Pereira to Paulo Costa at all, but Sean allowed Alex to be in that space in the fight. Alex didn't have to do too much hunting. When he knocked him out, it came from like a 1-2 down the middle, just from him standing there, just him just being there. I think Sean needs to figure something out defensively because Paul's going to demand that space and he's going to be more aggressive than Alex Pereira was.
Yeah, that Pereira knockout was pretty bad. I don't know, man. I'm going back and forth with this one because as much as I agree with what you're saying, this is assuming that Paulo is on his game, on his hunt. I've seen Paulo get outstruck many times before. Not even flashy, just fundamentally outstruck. What we saw with Robert Whittaker is what I'm afraid is going to happen to him this fight, where Paulo did almost have him out. He almost had him out after the first round with that spinning heel kick. But then what happened? Rob recovered. He came back and he won the next two, at least. If he didn't win that one, he won the next two pretty decisively. I do believe Paulo is the better fighter. Who are you going with this on this one?
I gotta go Paulo Costa. I have to go Paulo Costa because I think it is too much pressure.
Is that because you like Paulo?
I do. I know I've picked Paulo a couple times now. I really like the way he fights. If he's on his game and the cardio's there, I think he can beat anybody.
I understand what you're saying. I just, from watching the interviews and stuff, which you got to take everything with a grain of salt. I've heard Sean Strickland talk about, we're going to make this a war. We're going to do this or that. If he makes it a war, Paulo Costa is going to win a war.
For sure.
Sean isn't really built to win these wars. We kind of seen that with the DDP fight. It started off as a fight, but then the last 3 rounds kind of turned into a war, and we saw DDP pull away there. This is 5 rounds also. Let's not get that.
We in shape.
Yeah. Man, I'm leaning Paulo, man. I'm leaning Paulo. I do think if they make it a war, Paulo's gonna get him out, but I will say I would not be surprised at all if this is a 5-round just jab fest from Sean.
I can't see Paulo being okay with that. At some point, he's gonna apply the pressure. As long as he's smart enough not to wait too long to do it, I can't. Sean's defense is great, but he doesn't gauge range well enough for me. Not enough for Paulo.
Yeah, I don't think Sean has that power to put him out. Obviously, anybody can get put out, with the right punch, but I saw, and I hate to say it, I saw Sean hit Izzy point blank with a cross and didn't put him out. So I don't know. I'm gonna lean Paulo here. Paulo, hey man, this is me talking to Paulo right now. Don't make me regret this, because a good portion of my brain is telling me to pick Sean Strickland, just from a safety, from a fundamental standpoint. But I'm gonna go Paulo here. He needs a win. Paulo has more to gain with a win here. Because
sure.
Sean arguably could have fought for the belt if he just waited. Because some say he won that last fight with DDP. He already has a win over Izzy. He probably could have fought for the belt next or fought Izzy next. I don't know. Paulo, he's coming off a loss to Robert Whittaker. He needs a win here. So I'm going to go Paulo here.
Love it. That's the right pick. Did the right thing today.
Like I said, Paulo, don't make me regret it. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for the main event of the evening. We got the Dagestani versus the Diamond. This is a very interesting fight. It's hard to tell what to expect. For those that don't know, we're talking about Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier. The lightweight champ, the pound for pound #1 fighter on the planet as of right now. Islam Makhachev, man, he's looking to defend, and Dustin has said this might be his last fight. He said it a couple times, but this feels like it's his last fight. If he loses this, it seems like retirement is on the way. If he wins, who knows? I don't know what to make of that. I don't like when fighters go in there talking about retirement. That's a very risky game, especially it seems like you're kind of setting the stage for, I don't know what you're setting the stage for. Are you setting the stage for failure? Are you trying to put extra pressure on yourself? I don't know. Let me get your thoughts on this first before I go.
Dustin. I've been seeing a lot of TikToks lately. I've been seeing a lot of tweets. There's a whole thing about this is very similar to the Rocky fight. Very similar to the Russian, the king, the top dog, the Russian who is coming to destroy the American, and the underdog who's just going to put some work in, put his head down, striker who's going to fight within himself, use that heart that we know Dustin has to overcome all the chips and adversity. Maybe even beat him at his own game.
What?
In Gilly we trust. I don't know.
The Gilly game.
To take the undisputed title and maybe ride off into the wind. That story is a great one. I already have a lot of respect for Dustin. He would gain so much more if that's the way that this fight ended. The problem is the odds are just really not in that kind of favor for him. Unfortunately, if you are a fight fan in any regard, unless you're just a professional gambler who takes these kind of risks, to not think Islam's going to win this fight is ludicrous. We've seen a version of this fight once upon a time with Khabib versus Dustin. And then we even saw another slightly different version of the fight with Khabib versus Gaethje. Both fights look very similar to each other, to be honest. And I can't see this fight looking too much different. Unless Islam is going there, be an idiot, and choose to show off how good his striking is. He's tired of the I'm only a wrestler. I can only do A, B, C, D. That's all I'm good for. He wants to go in there and show that I'm just as good. I am one of the most elite strikers in the UFC, and decides to stand there and bang with Dustin. I don't see how he loses this fight, which I would invite Islam to show me he's the striker that he believes he can be.
So just before I even continue, who are you picking here? You picking Rocky?
I gotta pick Islam, unfortunately.
You're not picking
Rocky. I don't. It's gonna boost his legacy some, but you would be a fool not to.
So here's the rub. Here's the deal. The only way that Islam loses this fight is if, this is cliche, and I hate when people say it, but it's very true. The only way he loses this fight is if he beats himself. There's really no reason that Dustin Poirier should win this fight. There's always a path to victory, and especially with Dustin Poirier, who is, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he's the best boxer in the lightweight division. There's always a path for him to win, especially on the feet, in close. All he needs to do is land one on the chin flush, and it's a whole different thing. The problem with Dustin, as you alluded to, we saw it with Khabib. We've seen it with Michael Chandler. We've seen it with Charles. This dude's, he doesn't wrestle. He doesn't grapple. It's just not what he's focused on. He's a boxer. It's just kind of what he is. So when you're kind of built like that, it's hard to face wrestlers because you're always in fear of the takedown. You're always on edge about the takedown. You can't really let loose on the feet because then the moment you do, you're taken down. Now, hey, Islam, when he faced Volk, Islam said, hey, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to strike with Volk. You want to know why he did that? Because he didn't fear his power. He didn't fear that Volk could get him out of there with one punch. Obviously, he could win, but Islam felt, hey, you can't get me out of here with one punch. I feel comfortable trading with you on the feet. If I have to wrestle, I will, but let's trade on the feet. Let's do that. It's a different tune if you pay attention this week. One thing that always that stuck out to me is Dustin at the press conference. Dustin, he's trying to play his mental games or whatever. He said, hey, listen to your coaches and don't box with me. Islam said, hey, this isn't boxing. This is MMA, which lets me know and should let everyone else know he's not fighting for the fans. He's not fighting to prove anything to Dustin. He's not trying to show he can strike. He's in there to win. Will he strike? For sure. He's definitely going to strike. He's not the best kickboxer in the division, but he's one of the best. But he's going to wrestle. He's going to clinch. He's going to wrestle. Dustin's prone to all of that. Watch the Charles Oliveira fight. Charles was giving him work in the clinch. The knees that he was giving him made me hunch over. The knees that Charles gave him made me hunch over. Like, I was out of breath because of how Charles was dominating the clinch. Charles got him to the ground. Michael Chandler controlled him on the ground. Benoit Saint Denis controlled Poirier on the ground. He's always getting controlled. Now, can he get up? Sure. Will he get up this time? I don't think so. I'm picking Islam. I'm picking him, like Khabib said, picking him in round 3, submission. What submission, you ask? Not a Gilly. I'm picking Gilly because you said it. I'm picking Gilly.
There's a quote going on about this Gilly right now. Anyone who's seen Dustin's last fight, I'm sure you've been seeing the videos on every social media platform. Coach is in the corner. Hey, stop jumping guillotine. He like, hey, I can get it. I can get it. In Gilly we trust. If it comes down to it, I would love Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen, 10 seconds left in the fight. Islam goes for a takedown, wraps it up. He hinges it in there.
Oh, please.
Goes to his back. Not even. I hope he chokes him out. I hope he chokes him out.
Do you realistically think that he'll jump Gilly in this fight?
I think there's a possibility he does.
Like, I don't understand. Like, I get the Gilly jokes. I get he's always doing it. Do you realize if he does this against Islam, like, unless there's like 10, 20, 30 seconds left, he's gonna be on the ground the rest of the round. I don't know.
I think that's okay with him though. No, not the fight, not jumping Gilly with 4 minutes left in the fight. But if there's like a minute and 30 left and a takedown is pursued, I think he might jump Gilly. I think he has the option because he knows he does get controlled a lot. I can only imagine he spent every waking moment only working on wrestling and more or less getting back up to his feet. If he believes he can get back up to his feet and you jump Gilly with a minute and 30 left, if you truly believe I got this in there, I got this. It's hinged. I hear him gargling. You believe it? Boy, wrap your feet around his hips, expand the back, and do not let go. Do not if you're gonna jump it, I need you to be I mean like you're spending the rest of the round trying to finish it. Don't do it unless you think this is the end of the fight right here. Outside of that, though, you're gonna have to feint knees, feint uppercuts. You're gonna have to be sprawling every single time you see him even level change a bit to avoid whatever you need to do for a takedown. He's gonna probably rush you at some point with a couple combos to a clinch. Definitely hope you worked on your clinch game. But outside of that, elbows, uppercuts, knees, sprawls. Make sure he does not get that single, does not get that double. Keep him off of you.
Dustin, please don't jump Gilly, bro. Like, just as a friendly tip from somebody on the other team, please don't jump Gilly. If you want to see how Dustin fares on the ground and pound, again, I spoke about it earlier. Watch his fight versus Charles Oliveira. Now, I will say, he outboxed Charles on the feet. Like, he was clearly the better striker that day. But and again, maybe it's because I just rewatched it. I don't remember Charles having that much of a dominating presence against anyone. I mean, you would have thought he was from Dagestan, the way he was controlling Dustin on the ground, giving him elbows, very vicious ground and pound. And I was like, okay, like, geez, I didn't know he had that in him. Same thing with Michael Chandler. We saw Michael Chandler control him, man. I get it. If it's 30 seconds or less, go crazy. We saw what happened when he jumped Gilly against Habib. He thought he had it in, man. He did. I thought it was in. Shoot, it wasn't. And the fight ended shortly after that. But I think his road path to victory is on the feet, striking. Choose your times. He has to snipe Islam. He has to snipe him at first. Once he snipes him, then you can do the Dustin Poirier method and pour it on and blitz and overwhelm. But don't blitz and overwhelm too fast without setting it up, because that's how you get taken down. That's how you get finished.
I agree. But this wouldn't be the first time we've seen a fighter that with all the cards stacked up against them, and another guy with the nickname Rocky was able to pull it out. So I mean, this is a sport where anything's possible. That's all I'm saying.
The only difference with Rocky is in the Rocky fight, people couldn't go for takedowns. That's the big difference in that fight. And I don't know. I'm excited for it. There's a lot of tension in this fight now. I don't know if people saw the press conference, but tension is definitely rising. They're teed up right now. Like, it's getting interesting. Dustin and Islam kind of chirping back at each other, and it got very serious for a moment. I think there was a little miscommunication, but nonetheless, made for some great TV. I'm very excited. We'll see. Hopefully everybody weighs in tomorrow or today. Hopefully everything went good. I'm very excited for this one.
Very excited. This is an important card. This card means a lot in a lot of different ways for many different fighters. And for Dustin, if this is his last fight, how do you want to end it, man? How do you want to end the road? Do not go. Do not go silently into the dark, man.
Let's, don't go
Kick and
gently.
scream.
Don't go
Kick and
gently into that
scream.
good night. He's not allowed to claim that. He's not allowed to claim that. He is gonna go gentle into that good night. I'm sorry, Dustin. Dustin's truly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, he's one of my favorite UFC fighters of all time. Like, I'm not even capping when I say that. Just as far as like people I love to watch, all bias, who I love to see. I don't get much more excited for anybody than I do for a Dustin Poirier fight. I mean, he only fights the best. Connor, Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, even his fight with Benoit Saint Denis, who was essentially a nobody, was ranked 10 or 11. That was such an like, I get so excited for a Dustin fight, and hey, Dustin, you my dog. I hate it had to be you. I'll just leave it at that. But like I said, good card, UFC 302. Very excited. I don't know where he just went. Either way, I'm very excited for UFC 302. But there's been a lot of fight news announced lately. In fact, the card just got announced. UFC Fight Night, August 3rd. Got a banger of a card headline for you. It's a fight night too. It sounds like a pay-per-view, but it's a fight night. I'm just gonna read you through who's fighting. We got Corey Sandhagen versus none other than Umar Nurmagomedov, the Young Eagle, I think. I'm not really sure. The Young Eagle, whatever. They've kind of been at each other's necks in a good way for a while now. So that'll be very interesting to see. The return of Nick Diaz. That one definitely interested me. Nick Diaz versus Vicente Luque. Oh, you're back? I don't know what happened with your
Oh man, internet connections, Spectrum. If you have Spectrum, please change. Go AT&T fiber optic. I am actively against Spectrum internet. Please do what you can to get off of Spectrum. And look, at this point, I don't really mean this, but like I would give $1 for every person that changes off of Spectrum and goes to AT&T. I'm not gonna really do it, but if I had the funds, I actually would.
Oh man, well that is we are never gonna get a Spectrum at sponsorship now, but we weren't really banking on that. Glad to have you back. I was just talking about the fight night coming, or not coming up, but that just got announced. It's on August 3rd, and I was just listening through some of the people that are going to be on this card. I mean, like I said, we got Corey Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov. We got the return of Nick Diaz and what I would assume is his last fight against Vicente Luque, Figueiredo versus Chito Vera, Mackenzie Dern's back in the mix. My boy El Kakui, Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chiesa. That sounds like a pay-per-view type of.
I was just about to say that. And for a fight night, that's heat. That's fire. For a fight night, that doesn't get much better than that. That's a heater. That's a very interesting card. I'm excited for that one for sure, especially as it's been rolling out. Dana White, I think he went live on, I don't know if it was Facebook or Instagram or Twitter to do it or whatnot. But I saw it. I saw it the rollout, like the 5-6 fights for the main card, and yeah, that's an exciting one.
Definitely. I mean, they haven't even announced any of the prelims yet, so we don't know. A lot of title implications though, and we don't have to get super into it just because it's a long ways away. But that first fight is clearly a number one contenders match. Umar versus Corey. Sure. Whoever wins that, I imagine, would be fighting for the belt after Merab.
Save us, Corey. Please save us.
Let me just make sure. Yeah, because Peter Yan, no. Cheeto, no. Yeah, so that's a number one contenders match. Then we got guys like Davison who are stringing together some wins, bro. I didn't think his. Granted, they haven't been like No, those are pretty good guys. I mean, Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt, those are two staples.
Those are two notable fighters.
The Cody, I love Cody. Love Cody Garbrandt. He just, hasn't been on his game.
I feel you, but I feel like you're the same one who was very, oh man, Cody me. I don't know that
Oh no,
Cody Davison.
hey, Cody looked good that fight though. That's the thing. Like he looked good.
He did actually.
It
He
went
did
it
look
went to
good.
the ground, and you know everybody in the world knew where that was headed. But he looked good, so I'm not gonna downplay the Cody win. The Rob Font win is definitely, in my opinion, better. That's Rob Font. That's a guy who was challenging for the title. Like he was he was almost there challenging. Um, so that's a good one. If he wins this against Cheeto, a guy who just fought for the belt, I mean, shoot. I don't know where Cheeto goes from there, but if Davison does, I would say he's in line. He can't
Look,
jump Umar and or Corey.
as
But
silent as it's kept, if Davison Figueredo gets to a championship fight and wins it, we're gonna have to have a uncomfortable conversation
about what's the uncomfortable part? I don't. What are you trying to imply here?
legacy. Where does he sit all time? You know, we're gonna have to look at his fight history, his wins, finishes, defenses. We're gonna have to look at two division champ, not simultaneously, but has fought top guys. We're gonna have to evaluate what Davis Figueredo has done in his career and really figure out, hey, he may be one of them. He may
Not
be one of them.
not top 15. Just because you win a belt in two divisions, you don't just get to jump into top 15. Like you have to
But
have,
it's not the fact that he just won in two divisions. It's the fact that he's fought top dogs. He's defensed. He's gotten submission now. He's got submission wins, knockout wins. He will be a guy that has done everything you would want him to do in a career and won two belts in two different weight classes. I don't know.
doesn't have that
I
many.
don't
He
know.
doesn't have that many defense. You're making it sound like he has 5, 6, 7 defense. You don't have
You're
that.
right. You're right. I
He
think it
has
was what and
one, two,
was it like three? Maybe did he get
two or
three
three.
defenses?
2 or 3. I don't even know
Okay.
3, but it's
But then if he was to win in a different division and get another like three defenses,
and a lot. He had 4 fights against Moreno. Like he had
that was
4.
the best fighter in the division. I mean, what can you do?
I know, but I mean, shoot, you let some of these other guys fight the same guy 4 times. It's like, man, like
I hear you.
can't give you. But either way, I think with a win, he's right in the mix. Cheeto can't really agree that he's right there in the mix. I think he'd need like 2 more wins, especially if Sean's still the champ. But nonetheless,
For sure.
a lot of title implications from that one. And then we got the oldies, Nick Diaz, Tony Ferg. I mean, what have guys like that done for the sport? And I'm not just talking about recently, but just kind of even in their heyday, like how
Right.
important were guys like Nick Diaz and Tony Ferguson who just exemplified toughness and grit and just they bleed for the sport almost.
That's literally what it is. Everything you just described, that's literally what they are. They've done things that fighters wish. They fought the best. They've had winning streaks. They're exciting. They know how to be showmen in there. They're just great guys who's accomplished so much, and they're able to do it while winning, while putting on streaks. I know that these are guys who, I'm excited. These are guys who are older now, who are still in there putting on the showboating. They're acting like you haven't changed, though they know they have. Though they know that they don't move the way they used to move. They're fighting in there, giving everything they got, just like they were 5, 10, 15 odd years ago, and they're enjoying themselves while doing it. I mean, these are guys that I'm sure the crowd's gonna be very hyped to hear both those names. The crowd's gonna love it. They can't wait for a middle finger from a guy named Diaz. They can't wait to see some extra dancing or whatever he does. They can't wait to see El Kukui go in there, do his signature little slide while Bruce Buffer's giving him his introduction. These are things that's been a staples in the UFC and fighting for a long time, and it's gonna be special to see them both in there.
I just wanted you to give flowers to the veterans.
Is that what that was? That was a setup.
The fans often think you're a hater of the veterans, so I'm your PR man, so I gotta throw you some alley oops there to get you back on the good side.
I respect the vets, but if we're gonna talk current modern time of fighting, my opinion's gonna change about how I feel about them.
Understandable. I'm super excited for both of them. Tony, that's my guy. I'm a DM him on I'm a DM him for the fight. Wish him luck. We've chatted a few times. That's my dog.
Locked in.
That's why I'm a little biased. Because one day I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna train with him on some David Goggins. Like
It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I know. I might die, but regardless,
yeah.
Super excited about that. Super excited about 302. A lot of good fights coming up, man. Before we get out of here, let's have a debate of the day, man. I'm gonna let you intro it since it kind of stems off of the main event a little bit. So I'm gonna let you.
I alluded to it a little bit earlier, and I wanted to keep the debate focused on your guy Islam here. This is a fighter we've talked about, not only him, his family, his fight style. We've had debates back and forth here or even in voice message, just breaking down every part of his fights, Khabib's fights, his opponents, all kind of things. And the one thing that I'm very interested to hear, especially from you, is what is it or where is Islam legacy wise? Assuming this fight goes the way we all believe it's gonna go, like he has a few defenses. He's fought some of the best fighters. Me personally, I mean, it's almost hands down that I would put him above Khabib. And then not only just that, I think that he's showing, it pains me to say, he's showing that he has all the skill in the world to be champion for however many fights. Because after a win, 2 wins against Volk, after a win against Charles, he fights Arman soon, probably assuming that he wins this fight. I mean, I can't see many people who are going to be able to dethrone him. That kind of dominance you don't see often. Anderson Silva's, John Jones's, those are the kind of guys we saw that last from. What does this fight do for him and his legacy if he wins?
That's a very interesting question. It's very interesting, and it's funny because as much, I'll say this. A win over Dustin Poirier here, he is without a doubt a top 3 lightweight of all time. Probably top 2. Probably top 2. Is he surpassing Khabib on the legacy meter? No. No. And here's why. They both are good. Again, we're not overlooking Dustin Poirier. We're just going by the odds. He's minus 600. Let's just assume that he gets past him here. That'll be 3 title defenses for him. That'll be 3 for Khabib, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he had 3 because he had Poirier, he had McGregor, he had Gaethje. I think that's it.
It was.
So they'll have the same number of defenses. Before I continue, would you say that their strength of schedule is the same?
No.
You think Islam's is harder?
Yes.
Why?
Islam has fought the former pound for pound #1 fighter twice. Stylistically, the greatest submissionist and finisher in UFC history. Um, Khabib fought some great fighters. I mean, I know he has the never lost a round thing that for him, but I'm gonna keep going back to he fought plumbers. He fought plumbers and mailmen to do it. Shout out to Jordan. But I mean, look, it comes down to if you look at strength of schedule. Islam is doing great things, and it pains me to see him do it because it's only going to boost the Russian Sambo agenda. And we already see Umar getting a shot from going from like what rank 13 or 12 to now he's facing. I see it all playing out in real time, but here he is, really out here putting on the shows, striking. I think he's already skillfully all around better than Khabib. I think he's had the better schedule. I mean, and though it wasn't in his division, he beat Volk twice. I mean, the only other fighter outside of Dustin, who's next, is Armin. Stylistically, I know he's fought him before. He's even won that fight. Granted, they were both younger, but when that fight happens, stylistically, that's the only other fighter we probably can all see possibly having a good chance to beat him. And then I don't want to speculate too much on that because that's way far in the future. But if that was to happen, it's just stamped. It's just official at that point. But even now, with this fight with Destin, I think this win already by itself cements it.
I think that only makes sense for you because of how low you have Habib on your list. You had him at what, 10? If I'm not mistaken.
I don't think he was 10. I don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure he was like 9, maybe. He was something extreme.
Yeah, you're right. He was like 9 or 10.
And so that's my point is that, yeah, you may have him at 9 or 10. So if he wins this fight, you're putting Islam in the top 10. Or at least you're having him replace Habib. It gets very complicated with your argument. A lot of other people have Habib at least in their top 6. So if you're putting Islam above that, then it's like, whew, we're talking Mount Rushmore status. Like we're really getting it. And I think Islam at the end of the day will be on Mount Rushmore. But that's way down the line. My point is that, especially as far as the strength of schedule thing, you got to remember at the time, Habib fought a Dustin Poirier who we're talking about right now. He's the most dangerous guy. We're talking about a guy who beat prime Max Holloway. We're talking about a guy who now is considered one of the best. Back then, he was even better. So we're talking about that. We're talking about a guy in Conor McGregor who was the champ, vacated to go do a side mission. So it's not like McGregor lost that belt. He vacated it. So that's a legitimate defense. You can't just gloss over and act like that's not legitimate because it was. And then he fought Gaethje, who, again, is still in title contention now. He's still right on the cusp. He's fought for the title since then. He fought for the title then. So it makes sense that he's beaten those staples when they were even better. So I understand the whole, Islam strength of schedule is a lot better. I do think it's better. Islam has beat guys like Dan Hooker, Drew Dober, who in their own respective rights are good and are quality. But I don't think it's that crazy to where we're throwing Islam over Habib. I mean, like we said, Habib never lost. He lost, 2 rounds in his career fighting. I don't care. He's fought Rafael dos Anjos. He's fought the people I just named. I mean, that's bold. But I'm glad because that means you're gonna put Islam in your top 8. So that makes me happy.
10, I guess. And just a quick look.
So then where's Habib? Putting Habib at like 11? You can't do that. That's disrespectful to the sport.
If you look, man, that's we're getting back into a top 15 conversation, and I think could be that 9-10 makes so much sense considering if we don't want to overhype the number of rounds won when he only had maybe 5 significant fights in his UFC career. You can go back and look at his career. About half those fights were against guys who were 0-1. They didn't have more than 5 fights in their career. It gets messy. It gets messy. But Islam has seen so much legitimate competition and he's seen so much quality in his fights that the guys who I would have, like I said before last week, I have a list that goes down all the way to 32. And even as I just glance at this list, I can comfortably be okay with. I can comfortably be okay based off of accomplishments and strength of schedule that Islam could he could sneak in there. He could sneak in there into that 10 spot, pushing Khabib down to 11, and I'd be all right with that.
Yo, putting Habib Nurmagomedov at 11 just is.
If we don't want to overrate it, if we don't want to overrate the
Bro,
man,
were
three
you? But
defenses.
it's okay on paper to say, "Oh, Habib wasn't that good. He didn't fight." It's so easy to say that when we're on a computer, on Google, Wikipedia. Bro, you watched the fights. You saw him fight. You seen his style. You know the sport. You know how it is. You know Habib is a top at least 10 talent. He's
Talking
much
skill,
better.
skill
Yeah,
wise.
yeah.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, for sure.
There's no way you can watch his fights and think this guy isn't in the top echelon ever of the sport.
Skillfully, yes, but I need to see it against
You did.
everyone. I need to see it
You did.
against the fighters that are. He didn't fight Tony. He ducked Tony Ferguson. He ducked Tony.
He didn't. Tony tore his ACL
He
watching
ducked him. He
on it.
ducked him. He
So
ducked Tony.
Tony didn't tear his ACL over a cord, over a camera
There
cord.
was there was other opportunity to fight Tony
All right,
before.
I'm just saying let's not play both sides here. He didn't duck. I
He
think the
ducked
one
him.
time he had a weight cut injury or something. It is what it is. Then Tony gets hurt. And then COVID happens. So it's like they both messed one up and then COVID. So I get what you're
So
saying, but
it's so funny. It seems like a lot of these Nurmagomedovs and stuff. They have either staff or a weight cut problem. It seems like a lot of them. There's some kind of issue. We're like, around the same like towards the fight time. These things come up. These problems happen. So a lot of these eagle fighters. It seems it's very odd to me that a lot of these things happen like at the nick of time, and it happens to always benefit them somehow. They get to not fight the fighter who they're supposed to fight someone else like a Justin Gaethje or something crazy like that. I don't know. I'm just saying. Going back to Islam though, I think he has all the makings. Skillfully, he obviously does. He's fought the best in the division, and he's claimed he has the title. I mean, he's not number one pound for pound. Off of the strength of just those few accomplishments, there's not many fighters have ever seen or claimed top 5 or top 3 pound for pound, let alone be number one, hold it for X amount of fights. So off of the strength of that alone, I think he can definitely be top 10 with a win or two. But for me personally, yeah, could be. Just settle down a little there. Settle down.
you said a lot of blasphemy in that last statement. I'm not gonna address it because you were just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what landed. I respect it. I do. But at the end of the day, I agree that I won't go as far as to say he's in the top. He would, in my opinion, he would have to be in the top like 6 at least to be better than Habib. But like I said, he's a top 2 lightweight with a win. I mean, he has an incredible win streak. I mean, it's if he wins this, I think it's
Like
like the
14,
third.
I think.
Yeah, if he wins this, it's like the third longest, I think, in any division. Because I know Marty Kamaru Usman has one that's really long. GSP, John Jones.
And Anderson.
How?
I want to say Anderson has the. I want to say Anderson has the longest. I want to say that Kamaru has the second longest, and and I think it's Islam. I want to say it's Islam.
Okay, yeah, because um, he has Anderson. His streak is 16.
Mhm.
Kamaru is 15, and then there's like a whole bunch of people tied at 13. And Islam's one of those guys tied at 13 with like GSP and whoever else. So if he wins this, I mean, shoot, third longest win streak in UFC history, regardless of division. Like you said, pound for pound, number 1 for however long. I mean, shoot, that's a very impressive resume. I don't know, maybe it's his time. I'll leave it at that. Somebody asked him, and they said something about Habib. He said, "Hey, Habib had his time. It's my time now." So I'll leave it at that.
I didn't realize he was tied with John Jones. Actually, I need to actually be a bigger hater of a win here. I mean, I need to be a bigger hater of a win for Islam.
Well, I mean, that's doesn't really count. He had no contest, and he
You feel
had
me? You feel me? I
stuff.
get it.
So
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts.
you don't need to. You don't need to let that influence you.
You're right.
Um,
You're right. We
but
all
all
know what
right, man.
happened for real.
That's a good episode. Good talk. Good chat. Good debate. Good banter. Very excited for this card tomorrow, man. I'm looking forward to it. I'm probably gonna get nervous. Hopefully, me, you, and our guys, we can link up, get
Oh, for
some
sure. We need
good
to.
food, and take this fight card in. Any
We need
last?
to. This is gonna be a card. This is so much. It's gonna be mint in this card, and I think also to go back to Islam Poirier. At the end of the day, people may be expecting a mauling, and I think that is the expected understanding that may happen. Something tells me Dustin's gonna fight his ass off. He's
Oh,
gonna
for
he's
sure.
gonna go in there. We're gonna see that heart. We're gonna see that the diamond. He's gonna show everybody why he's the diamond. He's gonna go in there and put on a show. I really believe he's going to. I like his odds maybe me stacked against him, but I'm very excited to see what he does.
Like I said, man, the only people I'm putting over Dustin for my favorite fighters: Izzy, Val, Islam, Leon, and then I'm putting Dustin at 5, bro.
Not Max.
You said what?
Not Max.
See, the thing is I did have but I don't know. That's a tough one. They might be tied for 5. They're tied for 5. I think they're
Okay.
tied.
Okay.
Um, Max did have that third, fourth spot, but then Islam came out of nowhere. Whatever.
Okay.
The point is that, man, there's not too many people I get more excited for than Dustin. I think it would be sweet victory if he won this. I would be hurt, but if there's a guy that it could happen to, I would want it to be a guy like Dustin Poirier. So
Respect.
you're not gonna
Respect.
find me hating on him. But nonetheless, that's a good episode. As Ron usually says, retweet, like, subscribe, all that nonsense. Do all that. And we'll recap. Speak to y'all next week, man. Sayonara.